The motel room smelled faintly like detergent and something older underneath it. Not unpleasant. Just temporary. I sat on the edge of the bed staring at the keycard in my hand, still trying to understand how the conversation with my father had ended so quickly. It hadn't even been an argument. "We've got important guests this weekend," he said earlier that afternoon, standing in the doorway of the master bedroom like it already belonged to someone else. Behind him, I could see suitcases rolling through the hallway. Expensive ones with stiff leather corners. "They'll be more comfortable with the larger rooms." I remember blinking at him. "This is my house," I said quietly. He waved a hand, the way people dismiss technicalities. "It's just for the weekend. You can stay at a motel. We need the master suite for luggage." Not guests. Luggage. The strangest part wasn't the request. It was how confidently he said it, like the outcome had never been in question. When I left, no one followed me to the door. The driveway filled with unfamiliar cars, while I loaded a small bag into my trunk. My father was already laughing with someone on the porch, introducing the house like it was his accomplishment. I didn't argue. I didn't raise my voice. I just drove away. The motel was 15 minutes down the highway. By evening the quiet started letting thoughts in. Not dramatic ones, just small details I'd ignored over the past year. How my father had started introducing the house to people as the place we built. How guests began appearing more often. How the master bedroom slowly became the place he showed first. I opened my laptop on the motel desk and pulled up the camera app. Months ago I'd installed a few small interior cameras after noticing paperwork moved around in my office. It had felt excessive at the time. Paranoid, even. The feed loaded slowly. The living room first, then the hallway, then the master bedroom. I leaned forward. The safe door was open. Not just open, someone was crouched in front of it with tools. One of the guests. A tall man I'd seen earlier carrying a glass of wine while my father gave him a tour. The man worked calmly, like he'd done it before. Behind him my father stood with his arms folded, watching with mild curiosity. No hesitation, no protest, just patience. The safe didn't hold jewelry or cash. It held things that mattered more: property documents, contracts, financial records connected to the house, and the consulting firm I'd built over the past 6 years. Things my father had never bothered to understand. The footage showed the man forcing the final lock. The safe opened. Paper folders came out. My father leaned closer. The video ended. For a few minutes I just sat there in the motel chair, staring at the screen. The anger I expected never really arrived. Instead there was a strange kind of quiet clarity. I picked up my phone and made a call. My voice sounded calmer than I felt. "Hi," I said, "I need to report unauthorized access to secured documents in a private residence." Sunday morning sunlight spread across the patio behind the house. From the car parked down the street, I could see the brunch unfolding like a magazine spread. White tablecloths, catered trays, glasses catching the light. My father moved through the group comfortably, shaking hands, laughing too loudly at things people said. From a distance he looked exactly like the host he imagined himself to be. For a while nothing happened. Then the police car turned onto the street. It didn't ruts. No urgency. Just a quiet arrival. 2 officers stepped through the open gate while guests were still seated at the patio table. I couldn't hear the first exchange, but I could see the shift immediately. Conversation slowed. Chairs scraped lightly against stone. One officer asked a question. My father gestured casually toward the house. Another question. Then both officers stepped inside. 10 minutes passed. A few guests stood up and drifted toward the driveway. The atmosphere had changed in that subtle way people recognize when something isn't social anymore. Eventually one of the officers walked back outside and scanned the street. I stepped out of my car. By the time I reached the gate the second officer was holding a stack of folders. "My folders. Are you the property owner?" he asked. "Was." I handed him my ID. The documents didn't take long to verify. The house deed had my name on every page. Across the patio my father stood very still. Someone asked him a quiet question. He didn't answer. The officer explained the situation simply. Unauthorized access to secured property. Forced entry into a personal safe. No accusations shouted. Just facts laid out calmly in front of people who had expected a relaxed Sunday brunch. Guests began gathering their bags without finishing their food. Within 15 minutes the patio was almost empty. My father remained standing near the table, his hands resting on the back of a chair. I didn't approach him right away. Instead I walked inside. The house felt strangely normal. Sunlight across the kitchen floor. The faint smell of coffee in the air. In the bedroom the safe door hung open. I placed the folders back inside carefully, one at a time. Property records. Financial contracts. Proof of the quiet life I'd built, without much help from anyone. When I closed the safe, the lock clicked with a small, deliberate sound. My father's voice came from the hallway behind me. "Is this really necessary?" I turned. For the first time all weekend, he looked unsure of his place in the room. I thought about answering. Instead, I walked past him toward the front door. Because sometimes dignity isn't about winning an argument. Sometimes it's just knowing when the facts have already finished the conversation.